Speak on the Show 2021, episode 26. It's an unscripted Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Y'all ready? Are y'all ready? Let's go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. Speak on the Show, baby. This is what we do every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. How's everybody doing out there? Got a good show for you today. Today is unscripted. Let's get these formalities out the way. I'm going to touch on something real quick. Hold on a minute. We got some good mornings coming in. Good morning, Maurice Weekfall. Appreciate the support, bro. Appreciate the support. April Week, good morning, sis. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. rwcoolings.com. That's the website. RW Coolings all over all social media platforms. You can go there, get the information, download, share, like. We're broadcasting live on Facebook and YouTube this morning. So make sure you go ahead and share that and tune in. As I mentioned last week, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube page, go there, subscribe, RW Coolings on YouTube, subscribe there. And you can also download the audio after the show on iTunes and Spreaker.com. Brian Hoodie, appreciate it. Good morning, sir. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the support. 844-904-2665, 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. All we ask is if you come in and make a comment, say what you mean what you say. As you can see, you can post your comments online and I can click on them and we can talk about it. Or you can call in at this number, 844. That number, 844-904-2665. You can call in and let's chop it up. Let's do what we do when we do what we do. So it's an unscripted Saturday, y'all. And when I do these unscripted, it's normally because I decided to shut down this week. I didn't watch a lot of news, didn't read a lot of news, didn't get into the nitty gritty of a lot of things that are going on in the world. However, I'm still going to bring you a good show. Still going to give you the information that you want. That you want to hear and pass information on to you. So it's an unscripted Saturday. We're going to go through some things, but before we even start that, we talked about the moratorium last week, the eviction moratorium, and they got some things going around. Certain states are extending it, certain states are not, all that kind of stuff. I seen while I was perusing, there was a woman that was about to be evicted. And someone decided to start a GoFundMe page for her. And from that GoFundMe page, she actually received $270,000 through GoFundMe. So people donated to this GoFundMe page because it was her, and I think her 2, maybe 3 children were going to be evicted and everything like that. So she needed a certain amount of money to be able to stay in and pay the landlord. But what the people did by going to the GoFundMe was above and beyond what she needed. So her comment was that she's going to give to someone else who is in the same situation and needs the same support. So that's where we're at. That's just something going on out there that I did happen to see. It's good to see that. But here's the question I have, because I always got questions, Why does it take for us, when there's all these different programs out here, that we need to dig in our pockets to help? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all about helping people. But in a situation like this, where we got these evictions going on, eviction moratorium has been lifted and everything like that, this is one person that received $270,000, if I recall, from the GoFundMe to help her stay in her apartment. But my question would be, if this is one person that we were able to give all this money to, what about all the other people they're going to need? Because you got more than one person out here that's going to be facing eviction. So it really made me think, because we can't continue to go to GoFundMe pages and keep giving people money to prevent them from being evicted, because someone's going to fall through the cracks. That's where the government's supposed to come in to fill those gaps. Just my observation, just a thought from me. I'm not sure how this is going to turn out for a lot of people who are at that point where it looks like they're going to get evicted. But if you know somebody that's struggling, do what you can to help them out. But I will say this as well. Don't put yourself in a bad situation trying to help somebody else. That's all I'm saying. Don't put yourself in a bad situation trying to help somebody else out. You know what your capabilities are. You know what you're able to do. And all these GoFundMe pages that we see when people die because they didn't have life insurance and so on and so on and so forth. Do what you can, but don't put yourself in a situation where you can't do for yourself. That's all I'm saying. Terrence Collins, good morning, bro. Appreciate your support. Shanitha Gaither, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate your support. Lady Michelle, good morning. Good morning. Appreciate your support. April Whedon, I agree. And that's what it is. I mean, most people, I would hope, well, I'm not going to say I hope, but I think most people will agree that we can't put ourselves in dire straits trying to help everyone else. However, there's systems in place for this. And when we get out here and we start doing these GoFundMes, which, I don't have nothing against it. You do what you do. If you need it, whatever. But it shouldn't put everybody else in dire straits to feel that they're obligated to help if they can't help. That's what these laws and legislation and stimulus and everything. And I had a discussion with somebody the other day. They were talking about the stimulus checks. And they mentioned that all this money that was given out on stimulus and all these different things, what were they doing with the money? They weren't paying their rent. We don't know every situation to be true in that statement. We don't know that everybody that was getting the money from the stimulus checks and the tax money they were getting and everything during this pandemic, we don't know what they did with that money, and we shouldn't have to question what they did with that money, even though they may be at a point where they're being evicted, because no one knows their financial situation. Like I always tell people, stay out my wallet, I'll stay out yours. So I'm not going to get in those people's wallets. But it's the same argument when we hear about people, when they talk about people being on welfare, food stamps, things like this. I'm a true believer in this, and this is just the R.W. Coolin's opinion. You can agree or you don't. When we talk about people that are on government assistance, and I'll use the food stamps as an example. If you get a certain amount of money every month from the government because you're allotted this because of your situation, and you decide to go out, buy crab legs, lobster tails, whatever, the first of the month when you get that check, and you don't have money for the rest of the month, that's not my issue. If you're on the assistance and you're proven that you need the assistance and you choose not to do the right thing with the assistance that you're given, that's a personal problem. It's not for me or anybody else to question what you do with the money if that's what you choose to do. I was also having this conversation with some people the other day when we talk about people that are out in front of the stores. We all see it. I just happen to use the example. I came out of the store the other day, and when I was walking out, the guy asked me, do I have any change? Well, I don't carry cash. I don't carry any cash. I use my card all the time. But we got in this discussion about that, and I said, if I did carry cash, it wouldn't be the fact that I'm just going to give them cash. What do you need? You need some food? Because I was coming out of a restaurant. You need food? You need a sandwich? You need something to drink? What do you need? Because I'm more prone to buy you what you need than give you cash. Now, don't get me wrong. If I'm coming out of a store and a person says, hey, man, I need some money. I don't have no cash, man. What can I do for you? You need some food or anything? He said, man, I just want a beer. Me being who I am, I'll probably go in there and get him a beer. And some people look at that as being wrong because they say you're contributing to this person's alcoholism or whatever. I don't know the person's situation. But if in my heart, I feel that this man asking me for a beer and I decide to give him beer, who are you to judge what I'm doing with my money? It's just like if you choose not to donate or give to somebody. I'm not one to judge because you didn't give. So don't be a judge on how I decide to give. It goes into that we're always concerned about what everybody else is doing rather than concerning and concentrating on what we should be doing is right for us. So when you get in these conversations about the evictions and all this kind of stuff that's going on, what we need to do is be looking out for the benefit and the welfare of the masses. Make sure everybody's taken care of as well as we can. rather than concentrating on what they're doing with the money that they were given or the things that the opportunities that are presented to them. Because we all know that even though we've had opportunities and we may be sitting in a better place now, we didn't always make the right decisions as well. That's all I'm saying. I'm gonna leave it at that. But that's where I'm at. That's where, I've seen some things this week that have jumped out at me that I just don't, we got to get to a point where we're concentrating on what's right and what we need to do that is right, and stop concentrating on what everybody else that we think is wrong. Just a little rant this morning. Just going to get that out there. But let's go and get into this unscripted. So I seen this other thing, and it kind of jumped out. And the things I'm going to talk about today, I just kind of perused over. I didn't go into detail, but I'm going to give you my opinions on these things. We're talking about, what's his name? DeJoy from the post office. Now, I seen this where he's over top of the post office. We had all this controversy around it during the election and everything like that. He's still there. Okay, fine. He's still there. But this week, as him being over top of the post office, he just granted $120 million contract over the next 5 years to a major logistics contractor that he previously helped lead and which his family maintains financial ties to. Now, for me, this is a conflict of interest. If I'm over top of something and I'm giving out contracts or I'm awarding contracts, but I'm awarding them to a company that I have interest in, where do we draw the lines at this? It goes along the same lines as what I talked about last week with the senators and the representatives that trading stocks when they knew that the deal wasn't going to go through with these kind of things. This is where we sit back and we, like I just said, we judge the people that we see on a normal level, but the ones up here that are doing all these things that we know they shouldn't be doing, we read it in the news, they get a pass. They get a pass. There's nothing that you can't tell me that with this $120 million contract that him and his family were a part of and is still a part of this company, that he's not getting a kickback from that, from him awarding them the contract. Now they say it went through all the ethics and all this kind of stuff, but we know how this thing works. But we're upset at the person who's getting the government assistance that decides to go out and get crab legs with the money he's given, that he's allotted every month. But we have no problem with this. Let's talk about it. $270 maybe a month for food. If you're on food stamps or government assistance, whatever you're getting, $120 million contract. Come on now. Let's be real with ourselves. We always concentrate on the little people here, but we never talk about these up here. But we're always quick to point the finger, especially when we see them in line in Walmart or in the grocery store around payday. The first of the month. We're all judgmental. We see it. You see him in there with a grocery cart full of food, and then the food you see in there may not be the healthiest food, but we're sitting there judging like, wow, they, because we get up to the register, see them pull out the EBT card or whatever, and then we tend to get into this judgment of who this person is by what we see in their cart and what they're doing at that time. But we never get to the point where we look at these people here who are continually making millions and millions of dollars and taking care of their buddies and their friends and things like that. But what you have to understand is this: those contracts that they're giving out, those $120 million contracts and these things, are government assisted as well. So who are you mad at? The person receiving $200 some a month, or the person getting millions of dollars from a contract that he gave a friend that he's getting kickback for, which is an ethics violation within itself. Just put it out there. Kamiko Sewell King, good morning. Appreciate the support. It's the Battle. James Battle, appreciate you, bro. Appreciate the support. But that's where we're at in America, and we go through these things. It's in cycles. It comes in cycles because sometimes we're so focused on the people that are at our level that we understand the struggle. But do we really? Do we really understand the struggle, or do we tend to forget that we may have struggled at one time, and we don't give people the benefit of the doubt of what they have to do? Because most people on a daily basis that struggle are in survival mode, but we don't give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just trying to survive day after day after day, no matter what their situation is. It's like the haves and the have-nots. The haves and have-nots. And I seen a story today. This week. Ashley Babbitt. Ashley Babbitt's they call her a military veteran. I'm not going to give her that status, but she was. that went into the Capitol and the one that got shot by the Capitol police officer. The family is suing to have the records released, revealing the police officer's name that shot Ashley Babbitt at the Capitol. And there is also a forthcoming lawsuit for well above $10 million because they're saying they violated her constitutional right against use of excessive force and possibly failure to train, discipline, and supervise the officer who killed her. Let me repeat that one more time because I think y'all might have missed something there, but check this out now. They're suing to have the records released revealing the police officer's name. We'll get back to that. And there's a forthcoming lawsuit for well above $10 million, civil lawsuit, because they're saying that they violated her constitutional rights against use of excessive force and possibly failure to train, discipline, and supervise the officer who killed her. Let's start with the first thing. I don't have a problem with them releasing the officer's name. Under normal circumstances, I don't. But when you have people on the political sides of the aisle who are choosing to use this police officer to distract from what truly was going on January 6th, I have a problem. Because now you're getting into the point where this officer who was doing his job, as we always hear when they kill young black men in the streets and in the harassment, they were doing their job. If they would have only complied, then the police officer wouldn't have had to resort to those measures. Wait a minute. What about this situation? She didn't comply. She got shot. She died. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that anyone should be killed for the actions that they do. But if you don't conform to what is being told to you, we hear it all the time with the people that look like me. Why is it different when it comes to her? Revealing this officer's name could put him and his family in jeopardy, but we don't care about that because whoever was killed is not the issue. It's who killed them becomes the issue, because there was a lot of feedback saying that the officer who shot her was an African-American. That's what came out in the beginning. If this is true, then it's going to cause more of an uproar, even though everything that those people at the Capitol was doing was wrong. They're still trying to put the blame on other folks who did their job that day. Case in point, the police officers I talked about last week. But they want $10 million in a civil lawsuit because they said they're not going to bring any charges against the officer who shot her. And now they want to expose all that. But my question is, what was she doing there? Why was she there? Janitha Gaither, there are no constitutional rights for domestic terrorists. Thank you very much. So eloquently said. I couldn't come up with that this morning. But you are absolutely right. There's no constitutional rights for domestic terrorists. But now they want to put in up to above $10 million lawsuit against the government because they're saying that they violated her constitutional rights. What constitutional rights did she have as a domestic terrorist, as Janitha Gaither said, when she went into that Capitol with the intent? Now, here's where I think the water gets muddy for some people because we forget what they went for. They didn't only go to protest the vote and try to overthrow the government as a whole. The intent was to go in there and do harm to the political people that are in power that they did not agree with on that day. So if they had intent, and if they had the opportunity to get close to the Nancy Pelosi's and the people of the like on that day, what would we be talking about right now? But we sit here and we hear this, and then she's being cast as a martyr. And there's a crowdfunding that this goes back to, what was I just talking about? I'm talking about the money raising, but this is a crowdfunding page for her. And it has raised more than $90,000 since it was created. They raised $90,000 for her since it was created on crowdfunding page. For someone who was doing wrong. Now, she might not have been doing wrong in the eyes of the people who gave this money. I'm not going to say you didn't do it. But from what we know to be true and what they were there to do, she was wrong, as well as all the other ones. And the other problem I have with this is I just seen yesterday, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. But yesterday I seen where a lot of the people that have been charged up to this point at the Capitol for what they did are in plea agreements. Anyone doesn't know what a plea agreement is? They're pleading guilty so they get a lesser charge, a lesser case. When this first happened, everybody was talking about, oh, they should be charged with the full extent of the law, blah, 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 and all this kind of stuff. But now we see that it's changing. Now the narrative's changing because now they're not prosecuting them to the full extent of the law, as they mentioned. Why is this any different than anything else? Because I will go out on a limb and say if the people from 9/11 did not die in those aircraft, they would have been prosecuted to the full extent of the law because they were considered terrorists. And they don't have the complexion for the protection. When you see these things, when I see these things, and a lot of people get on me and they talk, I've seen comments about me and different things like that. I'm a race baiter and all this kind of stuff. You call me what you want to call me. Facts are facts. My opinion is my opinion, whether you agree with it or not. But we all see it. We all see it. We see it daily. And if you choose not to speak up about it, that's your choice. That's not my choice. I choose to speak up about it because when I see injustices being done, I think it needs to be identified. No matter who's doing it. This will be clear. No matter who's doing it. But I think it needs to be identified. But to label, that's why I don't like the names throwing around and calling people names, calling them out the names with race beta and racist and all that. My thing is, if you know somebody is racist, you don't have to yell it from the rooftops. It's already revealing itself in their actions of what they do on a daily basis. We don't have to continue to go back. He's racist, this racist, that racist. We know. Just keep doing what you do. Keep doing what you do. Another thing I seen was, now this one right here kind of pissed me off to a certain extent. And I don't get pissed off too often. James Battle, it was treason and they should be treated as traitors. And that's from, and thank you, James Battle. And that's from not only the people who stormed the Capitol, but all those who said and went and voted against the numbers from the election that said it was not, the votes needed to be recounted. All the people that had denials about what the election actually came out to be. They should all be treated as traitors. Because there's no way you can tell me we've had all these elections up to this point. And this election, all of a sudden, there's so much voter fraud that we need to overturn it. With all the technology, with all the checks and balances, with everything we do leading up to these elections every 2 and 4 years. This one, which the groundwork was laid out before the election even started, that there's going to be some cheating and all this kind of stuff, how you want to put it, by the person. It's like we said, it's like if you go out to play a basketball game and you already say the people are going to cheat before you start because you're going to lose. You've already laid the groundwork for people to question the ability of you and who you're running against. But we lose sight of that because we let all these people tell us that there's this election fraud and all this kind of stuff. And now, because of this election fraud was just the loophole for them to slide, but per se, was to slide them in to do all these voting rights to try to take things totally away from you. This is where we're at. And if you've noticed, all the things that have been talked about at the with the Congress and the Senate and everything, the Voting Rights Act has dissipated as far as the conversation. They're concentrating on everything else except for the Voting Rights Act right now, which was supposed to be passed way before John Lewis passed. It was supposed to be passed once they named it the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, and it still has not been touched to be passed. While these states are passing all these laws to make it harder for you to vote. People get into this about, showing your ID card. I don't have a problem with the ID thing. That's fine. It's when they're shutting down polling places and they're making it harder for people to get to the polling places to place their votes. I don't have a problem with the IDs, and most people don't, but they hinge on this ID thing. That's to cover up the fact of what they're doing undercover, is the fact that they're moving polling places, they're limiting hours. They're moving polling places out of lower income areas and putting them in the suburbs where the people can't get to because most of them don't have vehicles to get there. And then they're saying, you know, as we go through this, you can't eat or drink or none of this in line or whatever. What are we doing? This is all to deter you from actually going out there. But I would tell you, if you can stand in line at an amusement park to get on a ride, no matter what they throw at you, you need to stand in line to make your vote count. Maurice Wigfall, bruh, totally two standards on the discussion of EBT and the postal leader. Also two standards on the legality on the individual side of the Capitol and people like us. Exactly. You know, we actually seen George Floyd get killed in the street. We actually seen Ashley Babbitt get shot in the Capitol by the video. Of the two cases that we just mentioned, George Floyd, Ashley Babbitt, which one of those two was less compliant? Which one was less compliant in what they were being told to do? Because from my view, and from where I sit, if you're at the Capitol trying to break through a door that is shut because they don't want you in there, and you're still trying to bust through there and climbing through a broken window, as I always say, sometimes you bring things upon yourself. But we had to fight, we had to march, we had to do all these things to get justice for George Floyd, who supposedly, allegedly, was passing a counterfeit $20 bill. But we had to fight tooth and nail to get justice for him. But Ashley Babbitt, who was part of an insurrection on the Capitol against our democracy, and they want to identify that she was a veteran and she was a patriot, which they throw around this word so often. Where's it at? But let's get back to the Sackler family. Everybody remembers the OxyContin opioid crisis. Everybody remembers the opioid crisis. I did a show on it not too long ago. I did the opioid versus crack. It was opioid crisis versus crack epidemic. That's what it was. But the Sackler family is a big part of Purdue Pharma. Purdue Pharma is the ones that was kicking out all these opioids and stuff, and it was affecting the majority, white community. Let's just be honest with the opioids. With this recently on this OxyContin trial, which everybody kind of slid under the radar because it was a big thing, and now it's kind of just sliding through. Purdue Pharma and the Sackler family has pleaded guilty twice to doing and furnishing and pushing these drugs out without the warnings and all this kind of stuff. And now recently they filed Chapter 11 protection back in 2019. And in this Chapter 11 protection, it's gotten to the point now with this case where they're trying to hold them accountable for the opioid crisis, that they are looking at immunity under this Chapter 11 protection up to 160 financial trusts, 170 companies, consultants, and other entities associated with the slackers. They will also pay $4.27 billion to secure protection from future opioid lawsuits. Now, when we talk about the opioid crisis or opioid epidemic, let's be honest, these people knew what they were doing. They knew the people who were being affected, and they knew the amount of people that died. And I didn't pull all those numbers up because I didn't want to get into that today. But the Sackler family is multimillionaires. Just be honest about it. And they're willing to give up $4.275 billion towards this so they can get rid of any lawsuits to come after this once they do this plea deal. And that's going to cover not only the head, but all the people in the family that are associated with Purdue Pharma. Their last name is Slacker, however they're related. And I want you to take into account all the people that died from this opioid epidemic, opioid crisis, whatever you want to call it, and then to see that they're going to allow this to happen compared to, and y'all hear me say it all the time, and I don't say it jokingly, I say it for an example, but you got Nuck and Juju and whoever down on the corner that was slinging a little $5 bag here, there, whatever, doing 20 to 30 years in jail with no chance for restitution to be able to pay back the people that they've affected or anything like that. But then these people, because they have money, are going to get protection under the law because they're going to put money out here and they have lawyers going in there fighting for them. And nobody would serve a day in jail, no matter how many people died from this opioid epidemic. High level drug dealers. Just call it what it is. High level drug dealers. And none of them will ever serve a day in jail for what they did to those people that were affected. However, when people that look like me back in the day, who I call street corner pharmacists, because I'm not going to call them drug dealers, street corner pharmacists. The first thing we always hear is how they affected our community, within our community by our own people. That's what we always hear. But we never hear and talk about the injustices that was done to them because of what they were doing and being put in jail for the amount of time that they got. But we always hear them talk about what they did in our community, how they destroyed our community with the drug dealing and all that kind of stuff. But the amount of people that died from these opioids, which was produced by big pharmaceutical and one family that oversees the pharmaceutical that funded all of this, and they will never serve a day in jail, no matter what they did. And they're able to pay it off. They're able to take money and give it, make it go away. And then put money in to protect them from being sued by anybody else who wants to come up later after this is put into play. You know, when we talk about the drug trade and drug deals and all this kind of stuff, it always takes me back to, you know, what was it? American Gangster, Frank Lucas, and what he was doing, you know, getting the I can't remember what it was, the heroin flown in from Vietnam or wherever they were at overseas. I can't remember the whole thing, but y'all help me out if you remember. But how they chased him down. This was one person they chased down and said he was the biggest drug dealer, this, that, whatever. But then you see this. And with this, Frank Lucas looks like me. Because the only drug dealing I've ever done was take a pill out of a bottle of Tylenol to give to somebody for a headache. Never charged them. But I gave them a pill because they had a headache. Some people say that's drug dealing. Even though it's over the counter, you're not supposed to do that. But looking at this, Frank Lucas looks like me in that level compared to what these people are getting away with. This is where we're at. This is what we're doing. This is what we see. It's disheartening. We see it. And I don't want to get into, you know, the differences. You know, like I say, I don't like to do the comparisons and everything, but sometimes comparisons play a part in what we do. We have to look at it in the manner of what it is. Good morning, L. Harwell. Good morning. Appreciate the support. But we have to look at it for what it is. Everything is not always black and white, but there's certain things that we see that we have to address according to what it is, not what we want it to look like. I seen this other article. You know, this one jumped out at me, and it really, really caught me off guard. You know, when you was a kid in school and you had to go to science class and everything, and they had you, I know in my school back in the day, shout out Frederick, Maryland, we had to dissect a frog. Anybody remember that in school? We had to dissect a frog. Now I heard some people say they had to dissect birds, whatever. We had to dissect a frog. And to this day, I still could not be a doctor. I don't care what nobody say I can't be a doctor. But this story I seen this week deals with someone, he was in Nigeria. And he was in an anatomy class. And he was in there and they had 3 cadavers, they call them cadavers, on the tables for the class. And he walked in, and while he was looking at the cadavers, the one he needed to work on was somebody he knew. Somebody he knew. Hold on for a minute. Tony Williams, good morning. Appreciate your support, bro. The cadaver that was on the table for his section to work on was someone that he knew. Now, I want you to take that into account of if you're a doctor, or you're going to school to become a doctor or whatever, and you got this anatomy class, and you got to dissect something, and you look at the table, and it's someone that you know laying on that table that you got to do your anatomy class project on. How traumatic is that? This is in Nigeria. And what I found out after looking at that, in Nigeria, 90% of the cadavers are criminals killed by shootings between 20 to 40 years old. 95% are male. 3 out of 4 are from lower socioeconomic class. 0 of the bodies that they use are donated. And reading into this, the bodies that they have there that are, supposed to be criminals that are killed by shootings by police or whoever, whatever, none of those bodies have been donated to science to be used as cadavers. They take it upon themselves to use these bodies that no one has claimed or that they didn't report dead as cadavers for people to do in class. This is in Nigeria. And I find this amazing when I read it and disturbing at the same time, because for you to walk into a classroom and see somebody where he said this guy was missing, and then all of a sudden he sees him again and he's laying on the table as a cadaver and he's got to work on him. But I found this kind of interesting, and disturbing at the same time, because we hear about the case down in Georgia where the young man supposedly died in the gym. They say he rolled himself up in the gym mat and he died by being in the gym mat. There's been nobody held accountable for how he died, when he died, or any of that kind of stuff, right? But then the further investigation they do, when they did the autopsy on the body, they opened him up when the family got a coroner to do the autopsy, and the body was stuffed with paper. So the question is, what happened to his organs if he died just being rolled up in the mat by accident? Where now that you have the body, that there's no internal organs whatsoever in the body. I liken this to what I'm talking about here with the anatomy class in Nigeria. What is it about the lack of worth when it comes to people of color, as far as who we are as human beings that walk the face of the earth every day? But our worth is minimized to be a cadaver, or for someone to take your body parts and sell them to somebody else to save a person's life. Unbeknownst to the family that this person belongs to, that this is what they did or this is what they choose to do. It gets to the point where, as a black man, I start looking at it where I'm more valuable dead than I am alive, as far as what I can provide for somebody else to be able to continue with their life because of my organs, or to be able to be put on the table as a cadaver for people to get their, doctor's degree. But this was in Nigeria, but we hear it happening here in the United States of America right now. And I didn't pull up the numbers, but there's a lot of things in America where we see where they talk about how many people are missing. Watch this now. How many people are missing in the United States of America? And the biggest population of missing people is young black women missing. And the first thing we think of is they're either sex trafficking them or doing this with them and doing this with them, but we never take into account that they could be dead and they could have been shipping their body organs off to somewhere else. But we never get to the root cause of why we have so many women, young black women, missing on United States soil consistently. But then when we see one that's gotten found, we celebrate. But that doesn't take account for all the hundreds of thousands of other ones that are missing and continue to be missing. Let that marinate for a minute. You go to an anatomy class to get your doctorate degree, and the cadaver's laying on the table to somebody that you know, a friend of yours. But when they said this guy dropped out of class, came back the next year to finish up. So he graduated away from the people that he was in class with because of the trauma that he dealt with. He still did become a doctor. But just to see that and to have to deal with that, whole nother level. Julian Jones, good morning. Good morning, bro. Appreciate the support. So now I'm gonna get into something that we all been hearing about, all been talking about. We're talking about this the COVID-19, the variant, whatever they call it, the other what's the strain? I'm not Dr. Fauci, so y'all bear with me. The other strain of the COVID-19. And we hear all these people, going and talking about, I'm not getting the vaccine. You still got people out here that don't want to get the vaccine, not getting the vaccine because of this, that, or whatever. And like I said before, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm not going to push it to you, whatever, but I'm going to protect me and mine, so I know what we're going to do. That's where I put it. You do what you do. That's up to you. But think about the long term of everybody you're affecting that's around you. But I got sent this thing yesterday, and it really opened my eyes to what we do when we want to alter the fact of what we don't want to do and the justification we put behind it. And I'll just put it like this. And it was broken down like this. And some of y'all probably seen it. It says stores. They have a sign posted. No shoes, no shirt, no service. Most people, no problem. You got people that will try to walk in. I remember when I was younger, you used to have people walk in with no shoes on and mug try to go in with a shirt and they throw them back out the store. And we've gotten accustomed to that we walk around with clothes on. Let's be honest, we walk around with clothes on. So when we go to the store, we don't have this issue. But if they throw you out because you don't have shoes on, your shirt on, you understand, you walk out the door. Laws. Click it or ticket. They tell you to wear a seatbelt. You put your seatbelt on as soon as you get in the car. Click, click. Now, when it first came out, people were a little hesitant. People was pissed off. And some people still choose not to wear a seatbelt. But overall, it's okay. I'll put the seatbelt on. No problem. That's what I got to do. OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Most of your jobs that you have that deal with OSHA, if you have an OSHA job that has OSHA requirements, you have to wear safety gear in certain places with safety goggles, steel-toe boots, PPE, personal protective equipment, all the different things you got to wear in order to keep your job. You say, you know what, it's part of my job. I'm going to put it on. I'm going to do what I got to do because it's part of my job and it's protecting me in case something happens as far as something splashing in my face, in my eyes, anything like that. I'm putting this stuff on because it's going to protect me. Part of your job, part of the requirements to keep your job. And what do? You conform to these things. When we talk about the airlines, wear your seatbelt and the tray tables must be in the upright position on takeoff and landing. Everybody knows it. Everybody does it. Sometimes you forget because you fall asleep, but then they wake you up, say, hey, you're going to put the tray table up. No arguments. You push the tray table up, you click that little flip thing, and you're going back to sleep until you land. That's what we do. No problem. You got something to get a little pissed off and everything, but we conform. TSA, before getting on a plane, you got to take off your shoes, take off your belt, come through this metal detector. They got the one X-ray thing. They can see everything you own. Everything you own when you come through that radar detector, the X-ray machine, where you got to put your hands over your head and all that kind of stuff. We conformed. At first, after 9/11, we were a little pissed off. But when we realized what happened with 9/11 and those planes crashing into the towers, and then not only were we okay to go through TSA, but everybody that got on the plane that looked like somebody from where these folks were from, we would look at that side-eyed. Where are you from? He ain't gonna try nothing on you, is he? And the thing was, we all came together for the protection of all of us to make sure there wasn't no funny, dirty business going on the plane. We conformed. We did what we needed to do. And now you go to the airport, you go early because you don't want to miss your flight, to get through the X-ray machine, get through TSA. Some of you got TSA pre-check. You do what you got to do to make it comfortable for you to get on that plane and travel. And never once have we heard anybody hesitant about traveling since 9/11 because they have all these things in place and we've conformed to what they're asking us to do. Current status. All they asked you to do. Wear a mask inside establishments when you're in groups of people, on airplanes and offices and concerts. All they asked you was wear a mask. People was in uproar. People mad, and then they went to the whole extreme of you're intruding on my freedoms and my rights as a United States citizen. I should not have to wear a mask. So we've conformed through time for every situation that has come up until now. Why is that? Why have we gotten to the point now where we've seen all the people that have died from this COVID-19 before we knew to wear a mask, before we had a vaccine. And let me clear something up about the vaccine, because I think a lot of people need to hear that. Well, let me get into that in a minute. But we've conformed to a certain extent about wearing a mask and everything. Then they said, take the mask off. People were celebrating and happy and doing what they got to do and everything like that. But then when they said, oh, wait a minute, we got another strain, we're going to have to start wearing masks again, people in uproar again. because people are more concerned about their freedoms than the life. They're more concerned about having to put their mask on than saving their fellow man. They're more concerned about having to put a mask on and feeling like somebody's telling them what to do. And then they throw in this Marxism and communism and all these different things you can think of that these other countries have because somebody asked you to wear a mask. Nobody's forcing you to get the vaccine, but you act like it. It's a choice. The mask is a choice to protect everyone around you. It's not just for you, but you don't care about anybody else. You just care about yourself. I don't like wearing a mask, but I like living. I don't like wearing a mask, but I enjoy living. I'm not trying to be on no respirators, incubators. Well, and that's different. Incubator, excuse me, y'all. I ain't trying to be on no respirator, ventilator, any type of ADA. I'm not trying to be on. So I'm gonna put my mask on when I need to put my mask on, according to the guidelines. You know why? Because when I go to the airport, I take my belt off and I take my shoes off, but now I got TSA pre-check. I ain't got to do all that. When I get in my car, I put my seatbelt on because I know if I don't and I have an accident, I could come through the windshield. I've seen many pictures of people that don't wear their seatbelts to come through a windshield. When I go to the store, I make sure I got a shirt on because y'all don't need to see all this. Y'all don't need to see all this. I'm trying to save y'all. I don't want y'all to get excited when you're in there getting your Slurpee. You feel me? Safety gear. I put my goggles on. I wear my steel toe boots when I need to because I'm trying to keep my toes and I'm trying to keep my eyes. But I bring that up because the vaccine doesn't prevent COVID-19. It's a just in case you get it vaccine. See, this is where the misperceptions come in. The vaccine is to help you if you do get it, not to the point that you're on a ventilator. Not to prevent you from getting it. The actions you take wearing the mask and during the process of washing your hands, and I'm gonna digress here for a minute, but some of y'all out there, you didn't even wash your hands before they told you wash your hands. You go to the bathroom, don't wash your hands, you're nasty. But because ain't nobody telling you have to wash your hands, you just walk out the bathroom all willy-nilly, come out the stall and keep it pushing. Keep it pushing. I digress. Let me get back. But the vaccine doesn't prevent. It's a just in case. It's just in case you get it so you don't get to the extent of having to be on a ventilator and maybe die. It's just like the flu shot. The flu shot does not prevent you from getting the flu. It prevents you from getting the flu to the full extent if you catch it. Prevention. It gives you a chance of survival. That's what the vaccine is doing. It's giving you a chance of survival if you catch COVID-19. That's it. And then I get a little, how can I say this? Because, I don't bite my tongue, but I don't want to say the wrong thing either because these people are on their deathbed. But I seen a CNN interview the other day when I got up. And they were interviewing a man on his deathbed and had his daughter on Zoom with them. And he's in the deathbed and he's telling everybody, I should have got the shot. Make sure you get the shot. He got things in his nose. And I wish I'd have done it 6 months when I was supposed to do it and all this kind of stuff. It's too late at that point. But I have a problem with the news, highlighting this. Why do we need to highlight it like that? Because the bottom line is he made a decision and now he has to live with it or die with it. But the media wants to emphasize that you need to get the shot. I'm not going to tell you you need to get the shot. What I'm going to tell you is if you need something just in case you catch COVID to help you get through, you might want to get the shot. Tony Williams. I can validate that firsthand, bro. Exactly. There's a lot of people that can. Excuse me. But we listen to everybody else. And I'm gonna use, excuse me, let me slow down. I'm gonna use this example for y'all of just in case. Y'all ready for this? When we talk about car insurance, you have car insurance just in case. You talk about medical and dental insurance. You have those insurances just in case. You don't go to the hospital every day. You have medical insurance in case you have to go to the hospital, in case you need a checkup. You have dental insurance in case your tooth falls out, in case you get a cavity, in case you get an abscess tooth. All the things are just in case. Homeowners insurance, you have to have it. You don't have to have medical or dental insurance. It's your choice. You used to have it on Obamacare. You don't have to have it now, unless you choose to. But you're putting your own self in, because who are you going to go to if you need it? Car insurance, you can't register your car if you don't have car insurance, but it's just in case. And in a lifetime, you pay your $200, $300 a month for your car insurance, depending on how many cars you got. I'm just using the average here. Depending on how many cars you got over the lifetime of your life, all the time from 16, when you first get your first car, all the way till the day you die. If you grab a car, you got car insurance. And sometimes you have people that leave this earth who have never put an insurance claim in on their policy with that insurance, because they've never had an accident, they never had a broken windshield, they never had anything with that car that they had to put a claim in, but they've had it just in case. Homeowners insurance, as I mentioned, if you're a homeowner, you got insurance, you got to have home insurance, get the home loan. These are just in case something goes wrong. Life insurance, you don't have to have it, but you probably need to. Because if you choose not to have life insurance, you're leaving everything that you got to take care of to the people who love you. And they might fall out of love with you if you don't have a life insurance policy to take care of what they need to take care of in your benefit when you leave here. But life insurance as well is not a just in case, because we all going to leave here, as we talked about. But it's just in case you leave earlier than you expect to. Let's put it that way. The vaccine is just in case you catch COVID, not to stop you from getting COVID. That's why I hear these people talking about, well, I heard he got vaccinated and he still caught it. Yeah, okay. But he ain't on I keep saying incubator. He ain't on a ventilator. He ain't on none of them AIDAs. He ain't laying up in the hospital, because he got the vaccine just in case he got COVID, so he wouldn't get it to the full extent. That's all I'm saying. I try to put it in the most simplest way I can for people to understand that the vaccine is a just in case. And then, exactly. Thank you, Tony. And then you see the GoFundMes, as we mentioned before. You got GoFundMes out here because somebody didn't choose to get life insurance. And now the family's looking for everybody else to contribute to their poor planning. And we do. As I mentioned before, we do. Depending on who it is. We contribute. But now I'm going to get into something else. We're going to go to the mind, body, and soul on this unscripted Saturday morning. Mind, body, and soul. We're taking it one day at a time, 2021, one day at a time, self-care, self-help. We're taking care of ourselves this year. But I want everybody to help me out today. Everybody chiming in. I want you to chime in on this, because this is something I've been thinking about, and it just happened. I ran around across this article. And this is not going to be your normal mind, body, and soul, but it's really going to make you think. And the question I have is, under this mind, body, and soul, what would you tell your younger self in 3 words? What would you tell your younger self in 3 words? Looking at where you're at now, what you've been through and everything like that, if you had an opportunity to tell your younger self 3 words, what would they be? What would they be? And y'all can go ahead and start adding in your comments on that. 3 words of what you would tell your younger self. Of all the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs, the successes, everything you've gone through in your life. I'm at the double nickel right now. And I'm going to hold off on my 3. But I got something that I pulled up that off of this article that I found. 3 words, just 3 words, very simple, of what you would tell your younger self to prepare them for what you know now that you wish you knew then. 3 words. Go ahead and chime in with your comments and put them in there. Let's see what we got. But one of them, a couple of people, it's about a bunch of them on here, but I'm not going to read all of them. One of them says, believe in yourself. This is what somebody would tell their younger self. Believe in yourself. Another person said, trust your soul. Another one says, look for joy. Do your best. Study, exercise, save. You are perfect as you are. There's 6 of them, but it got as you are in parentheses. Save more money. I knew money would be a part of this too. Save more money. That's what one of them is as well. Love only yourself. Love only yourself. Be fearless. Live. Be fearless. Live. Make it happen. Only seek freedom. Take a breath. Exhale. Relax a little. Get a life. Live life fully. Don't waste time. This one jumped out. Don't marry him or her. Let's be honest. We're gonna be neutral here. Don't marry him. Don't marry her. Stay in Europe. Finish college. Exercise. Wear a condom. Do not smoke. Put away money. Don't give up. Think it over. Spend less money. Maintain decent weight. You know better. Avoid office work. Go for it. Know. Now this one jumped out at me. Know Jesus Christ. Travel the world. Don't chase boys. Work later. Travel. Avoid that family. And the other one says, the last one says, I can't do it in 2 words. Don't compromise. So those are the ones that came on the thing. So here's the ones that came in on the comments. I appreciate y'all chiming in on this. Shanitha Gaither, take your time. Take your time. Tony Williams, Big Tone, choose wisely. Anthony, oh, that's your name. Choose wisely, Anthony. I got you, bro. Julian Jones, be happy. James Battle, protect your mind. I like that. Protect your mind. Protect your mind. Julian Jones, enjoy life. Joe Kirk, what's up, my brother? Motivate, stimulate, pray. Good ones. But it really makes you think. And the reason it came to me, I was sitting back the other day, I was going through some pictures, and I seen myself as a young man in one of these pictures. Like, I think it was a kindergarten picture or first, second grade, something like that. And I hadn't seen the picture in a while, but I was looking at the picture, and then I looked at some other pictures and got all the way up to when I graduated high school and stuff like that. And it really made me think, wow, the innocence, the unknowing, the trying to figure out who I was. And then it came to me and said, what would I tell myself, my younger self, knowing what I know? What would I tell myself? And I'm still a little puzzled on it. I'm still a little puzzled on what I would say. Pamela M. Garrett, believe in yourself. There it is. Believe in yourself. And I think for me, we got another one coming in. Brian Hoodie, you are worthy. Watch out now. That's one of them I thought about it too. That's when I thought about too. And it's so many that can come to mind because you start getting into it. And I read all those and I'm reading y'all's and you know, I couldn't come up with just one. I couldn't come up with one. But if I had to say anything, it would be yourself. Always. Be yourself. Always. And I say that because for me, now I'm going to tell you from my perspective, and I appreciate everybody that chimed in, but I say be yourself always. Because there's always going to be in your life critics. There's always going to be those who don't like you. There's always going to be those who have their opinions about this. There's always going to be people who see you differently than who you are. Your reality is their perception. And I say be yourself always. Because no matter what you go through, no matter what I've been through, no matter how I look back over my life, all I have is me. And I'm not saying that to eliminate family, friends, anything, but all I have is me. And when I say be yourself always, is don't waver. Don't conform to what people want you to be. Be who you are, no matter what. And that's one thing that I will say that in spite of all the different things I've gone through, different things that we go, our travels, and be yourself always. Because one thing that people can never say and hold against you is if you're always consistent in who you are, No matter what they say, no matter what their opinions are, no matter what they tell other folks, you are you, no matter what. Stand strong in that. Be yourself always. That's where I stand on it. And it's one of those things where, and I'm not going to get into all of it, but I think we've all been mischaracterized of who we are, our character, what we do, what we stand for, how we take life, what we do in life. And that's in spite of all our failures, our mistakes, what we've done to other people and everything like that. You are who you are in spite of all that. But for me, be yourself always, no matter what. I appreciate everybody tuning in on that, man. That gave me some good insight on things. And I want to do something a little different today on the Unscripted because, I know, we get in here and I give y'all some motivation and everything, but I needed some motivation for myself today. So that's why I wanted to do that. And I wanted y'all to chime in because, just because you had a microphone don't mean you had to always be the loudest voice. Let's just be honest about that. So let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. I appreciate everybody tuning in. We'll be back again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. Also, go to YouTube, subscribe on YouTube, because like I said, we're going to phase out going to Facebook on the consistent. We're going to be broadcasting on YouTube. So go to YouTube, subscribe to the page, share it, invite other folks, stay involved in the conversations that we have. And I appreciate people chiming in because it helps the conversation go along, because like I tell you, I don't know everything, but I know a little bit. And I don't always know what I'm talking about. Well, let me get it right. I ain't always right, but I know what I'm talking about. So we're going to keep it with that. And I appreciate everybody. But look, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely keep your faith in God. And as we mentioned, talk to your younger self. Reflect on yourself. Reflect on where you've been and where you are now. And if you could go back and tell your younger self 3 words, think about that for a minute. Look at where you are. Never underestimate the trials and tribulations you've been in and how far you've come. But always take time to reflect back on where you've come. Look back over that road. Look at those bumps in the road. Look at those potholes you had to fill in to get over that road. But know that you started somewhere, and this is not the end. Keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see y'all again next week. And I'm out. Peace.